how do you do today? Ah, this is very good, very good. So I was just talking to a friend on the phone. We're just passing back and forth voice messages, and I had a thought to myself that I should be doing more of what I should be doing or what I feel I should be doing, which is this. I feel like I should be doing a lot more uh, videos and putting things out. Whether they're getting like totally received or not is out of my hands. Quite often I've posted videos and they've gone like left without sort of many views, like or any, if any, sometimes, and I'm like, man, like sometimes it's like, oh, nobody's watching or nobody's looking, so don't do it type thing. And I'm like, nah, that's not it. You got to do what you feel you should be doing, and I know that I can feel that inside of me. So I'm just going to keep doing it, and at some point I would like it to eventually reach more ears, but at the same time it's not the total reason why I do this. I do this to just share with at least some people, and because it's my purpose. It's part of my purpose. So I really like to talk a lot on health and relationships and also purpose. I like to talk a lot on these things. Uh, Very much due to around 6 years ago, I lost my health. Like, really lost my health. I used to be a very, very fit guy, very in shape, crazy in shape, like living in gyms and boxing and running and swimming. Like, sometimes it was almost an all day thing. And I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, I wasn't taking anything, I wasn't doing anything sort of enhancing, I wasn't doing anything like that. I was eating pretty clean, probably having a bit too much caffeine. Yeah. Then I got really, really, really sick, and I had to see like many doctors, like many doctors. It went on for years, and I was pretty well bedridden. I couldn't get out of bed. I had no answers. Long story short, I had no answers. I went to the end of the line. I seen a neurogeneticist, and they were supposed to tell me if anything was off with my genomes, if I had any mutations, which may have been passed down from my mum and my dad and their genomes meeting and creating a certain disease, but they couldn't come up with anything. They didn't have anything. So I went on and on and on with these. It was like 27 symptoms. I was really unwell, and I was at the end of the line. I did not want to live anymore, which was not at all in my personality. I'd never ever had suicidal tendencies. I'd never wanted to die before. But I was at the end of my string, like everything was breaking down. Like, I had to like stay at my mum's house and just lay in this bed. I was unable to cook for myself, and I still had to because no one knew how to prepare meals the way I needed them to be prepared. Chronic fatigue syndrome mixed with a bunch of other things, and it was horrible. Very, very horrible. Which led me to, long story short, there's so much more behind that story. Like, man, it was like, I hope nobody has to go through that, but I know a lot of people are. There's a lot of people going through some really hard times with their health. Cancers, chronic illnesses, autoimmune conditions, all this stuff, Like, there's just so much that can happen to the human body, and doctors are yet to realize or know fully causes, actual treatments. Like, it's a lot of things are still in the dark. So what happened was, I was in a very dark place. I had my ex-partner now, she handed me a book, or told me to read a book by a guy called Joe Dispenza. I'm sure some of you may have heard of. He's very, very wise, very intelligent man, very scientific, right into meditation, teaches, practices meditation, while also showing the scientific revelations behind it. They measure everything. He does like week-long retreats where people they will meditate for a week long in a room full of 1,000 and above people, and the energy will be so great that at the end of it, they would take measurements of like their genomes, their saliva, their breast milk, like tear ducts or the tears that come from, it's not the tear ducts, shoving needles in there. Um, yeah, just testing everything, like immunoglobulin, everything, testing everything because people were having very high, massive, profound changes in their life, health wise, and other ways too, which I will go on to. But like health wise, like what was happening, people were going into instant remission, some slower remission. Um, well, remission means healing, but like going back, but some quicker, some slower, and some people would have like instant healings, like literally, they would just walk out of the room, walk out of the even at home, they'll just have like a healing. They'll have a meditation, and something in them was like, oh, I'm healed. Wow, I can feel it. And I will say, in the body, you can feel it. You can feel something very big, very very strong when you have one of these connections. Um, so, I'd like to talk about that. I'd like to talk about how I healed, which was through his work, and then also finding other ways when I went internal and practiced other things for myself. I never really had to go into communities or anything like that. I just sort of had to go away and speak to my heart. And at times I'd be on my knees, like talking to the sky with love, praying and asking. Sometimes it felt desperate. Other times it was somewhat desperate with a mixture of like love and feeling. I felt those were the real times where I was ready to receive, whereas in a state of desperation, you're not really ready to receive. So I went through years of like trying to heal, and I was started doing like these meditations and all of this stuff. And then over a period of time, I noticed that I was getting things back. I'm like, man, like no way, this could be the answer. Like, this is it. Is this it? Like my movement, my like muscles, my eyesight, like there was just so many things happening. And man, like acid reflux, like heaps. Just it's crazy what can happen. It just things started to change gradually, over time. And it was his work, and then it was a mixture of like slowly going back into life, not in so much in a working sense, but in a connection sense. And then sort of as I started to like release some symptoms, I was still going through hard times, emotional, it was still very difficult. My girlfriend left. My first, my the first time we separated anyway, she left. Then my dog passed away, and I'm like, no, all of this stuff happening. I'm financial, I'm broke. I'm stuck in my mum's house. My girlfriend left. My dog died. Like my dog was like my best friend at that time. He was the closest to me. Didn't ask anything of me. Just looked at me with love and wanted to be around me. And like he was very through that time as well. He was very very important. Very 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 good to have. I'm sure people out there that have dogs and that are close to them, you understand. So it was a really hard time. Then I knew like I broke again type thing. I was like going through this hard stuff, and then something in me said, you've got to go deeper, you've got to go harder, you've got to just go in more. So I lived in it. I pulled away from television, I pulled away from everything. I totally lived it. I jumped in a van, I slept next to the ocean. I'd wake up, all I would do was meditate, stretch, talk to strangers, and then I would go back over like consciously where I felt like the relationship could have been better, why it ended, what was on me, what was on her. Like I wanted to understand things. I didn't just want to react emotionally, but also too, I knew I couldn't just sit around and analyze everything. I knew I had to like go into feeling and still feel a love and a joy for life, because I already learned by then that's where the healing was and is. So that happened. And then I got back to this great place. I was not falling into like any bad habits. I never really was a drinker, but I wasn't smoking. No binge watching anything. Like I was keeping away from video games, anything that could kind of like take my attention away from healing. And that wasn't laughter. Like I knew I still had to laugh. There was no like, oh, don't laugh at silly jokes, don't watch silly clips, or because I already deep down knew that's important. Or I kind of always knew if you take the spiritual world or healing or avenue or community, whatever, if you take all of that too seriously and you go in like and you feel like you've got to dress it and watch every single little word that's said, you make things worse. Like you just become intolerable. You become too serious, and there's no real healing, in there. Like life is meant to be fun. You're meant to laugh at stupid stuff, and we're not meant to be too serious about what we say. We're meant to be comedic. It's just a part of it. It's just God given. It's God given. So I went on this huge journey, ended up going through many years of things, and then finally was like, all right, I'm ready to adventure out into more of the unknown. And I did up this big camper and spent like a year and a half on the road, and ended up living in this place, far north Queensland, called Port Douglas. And I was allowed myself to tap in more, because I had to actually at this point. I was coming out of this fatigue. I was running again along the beach. I had tears coming down my face because I just was in disbelief that I got back to this level, like I'm like, wow, I never thought I'd see this again. I thought I was done. I thought I was doomed. Connecting again with people, opportunities arising, feeling way more positive, like many different ways. Whether it be with like who I could be in my life, financially, opportunities, options I had with women, whatever, whatever. I was just kind of like, I went from being this disheveled man that felt like he couldn't have anything because I'd been so broken and stripped of everything, my health, my relationships, the way I looked, the way I thought, everything I knew about myself, it was stripped away massively. So like in a way I was becoming egoless, not by choice, or at least I didn't think by choice. So again, I ended up having like I was on the beach. I when I came back from all of these problems, I would get like overly excited sometimes, and I'd throw kicks. I like martial arts a little bit, and I like to like box, and I was on the beach with this guy, and I was throwing some kicks, and I had an injury to my spine. It looked like it was going to be a lot more serious than it currently is. Spinal compression, the symptoms I was having, a doctor was talking about I may need to talk with a spinal surgeon. Another one was like, oh, I think you can heal. They were saying it was like a cervical radiculopathy, which is like not compression of the spine, it's just compression of the nerve next to the spine. And others were like, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, fuck, man, you know what? Like, I need to go tap in to the work that I feel like I've seen people heal from, even conditions like this, like many different things. So I literally just disconnected from all of that, and I ran into the Daintree rainforest for 6 weeks, and I created my own kind of like Joe Dispenza event, but also around it, I tapped into something else. I was shown because until then I was mainly just following guided meditations and somewhat feeling music, but something happened in the rainforest with me and music, and it became very evident that I was able to move energy through my body, like crazy amounts, especially with certain music. So I was using different artists, and I was bringing it up to my heart. I could feel it like a warm ball around my heart, and I could just feel it was healing me. I could feel it like even traveling down my spine, through my arm, like the tingles, everything. It was amazing. I'm like, oh wow. This is like another level. I was having small spiritual things like happen, like expanded energy to the point where I could just like feel people in a strange way, like too many at one radius. I'm like, what is this? Like sometimes I'd have to pull away. I'm like, this is strange. But yeah, the best thing that I found was like this energy that I could play with and manipulate and move around my body, and I could feel it in all my cells. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, this is great. I was meant to find this. And I only found it in a really dark place. Like, again, I was very broken and tired and thinking like I was going to have to go speak to this spinal surgeon. I'm like crying. I'm like, all right. So the goal is to, again, just separate from people, normal ways of living, and just go back deep into it and just play with energy, feel love, heaps of love, healing, set intention. And I came out of there still like niggly, but like, and still like somewhat injuring after, because I'd go too hard, I'd get on the bag again, like I thought, yeah, I'm healed. Oh my god, bang, 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 and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, it's like tweaked a bit, but it's nothing like it was. I'm not getting like the numbness down the arms, and I'm like, okay, so it's pretty well healed. After like being told I have to speak to a surgeon, I'm like, nah, man, I can't do that. So I was eating really clean, just a lot of fruits, and I was getting messages around it too, like weird things happen that were like arrows pointing me into back to Joe's work. Like I went and seen this chiropractor, and he turns around and he goes, I think you would do really well with this book. You should read it. And it was Joe Dispenza, and I'm like, man, I've been doing his work for like 5 years, and then I'd stopped doing it, and then I went through this. I just stopped like fully doing his work for like months, and then I could heal with like going back to sort of his fundamentals, but I'd forgotten, and then I went back into this like flight mode and being afraid and scared and all of this stuff. And I was like, it was such a weird thing. Nobody's ever suggested me Joe Dispenza's work, and then I'm doing it for 5 years, and then I go back into this serious situation, and then this guy pulls up. It's like, oh man, like that's a sign, man. And the way I got sent there too, like the way this guy that I met, and he had this tattoo on him, and I don't know what it was. Something just told me I had to go to this chiropractor, and before I even went to the chiropractor, I think I told my brother and someone else. I said, oh, it feels like a sign. I'm meant to go here and see this. It feels like a sign. And I went there, and I was like, oh shit, like that's massive. Like 6 years or so doing Joe's work, and then that, I'm like, whoa, man, wow. It's like that's telling me how I got to heal. That's telling me what I got to do. So I healed a lot doing that. And look, I just have to say, you can heal anything. I've watched people heal cancers, oh man, Parkinson's, like all sorts of stuff, all crazy stuff. You can heal anything. But besides that, this work of like going inner and learning to live from the heart, and I don't just mean like saying, oh, I love this, I love that, like really learning how to be appreciative and moving energy and feeling good about life, like playful, but also like just really feeling it like in your heart, like it'll make you tingly. It grounds you for many other things in your life to come, because it becomes a very solid base where you cannot deviate from. And if you do, you only go back down emotionally, physically, like your relationships will go to crap, your purpose, whatever, things around you will kind of fail even more. And even when they are failing and you're doing this work, you're doing work on yourself more, you stay above it. So there's no lose. Like even when the things are crumbling around you, you stay solid in a very not like aggressive, like, oh, I've got to be strong, because that doesn't work. It breaks. You have that as a man anyway, women too, but as a man we have that kind of like I'm strong type thing. It's good to have at times when it's necessary. It's not good to live in. It's not the healing. It's not the feminine. It's not the heart, which I have to say women are very blessed with naturally having, if they allow themselves to have it. And that's another topic for another day. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what happens. Like you go through things like you have separations, and people around you, they leave, and like you're in relationships and things that normally would have broken you. Like, no, I got to go do my work. I got to go and feel love, and not even like, you might feel sad for a moment, but you're like back to like, man, I love things. I love life. I love that person, and I'm going to let it be type thing. And I'm good. I'm going to focus on where I'm going, what I'm doing, not in a forceful manner, in an attracting sense, and go from there. So yeah, I suppose that's today. That's my message. Like I want people to know that they're in control of their life, whether it be their health, their relationships, their work, which I hope is also their purpose. For me, I this is who I am. This is who I want to be. And this is what I want to share more of. I just if I could leave anyone with any message, I would say always practice and go back to love, no matter what is going on in your life. Always find a way to enjoy life, the colors, the taste, the noises, the sights. Always come back. If you need to disconnect from your current way of living, doesn't matter if other people do not understand it, just go be away from people, breathe through your heart, follow people, check out Joe's work, like listen to music, man, that inspires you, that makes you feel good, and like play, like hold your hand on your chest, and you know, just feel love, feel the good stuff, feel the good stuff in life. And yeah, man, I'm gonna have to turn this aircon back on. I'm currently in Thailand and it is hot over here. It is very, very hot, very, very hot. So that's it for me for today. And look, I wish everybody the best and all the best. Peace out.